If you are a listener to Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, you most probably would have heard of Victor Oteri. He is not just a presenter, he's also the station's director of programs. One thing about Victor, though, is that he's blind, something many find difficult to believe when they eventually meet him in person. Victor celebrated his 50th birthday on September 8th with some of his closest and dearest in attendance. He's in our studio to talk to us about his life and passion for what he does. Do you know how popular you are with radio listeners?
I'm not too sure if I'm that popular. All I just think is that I have a connection with the listening audience. And a lot of times when I come across people, they say, I know this name, I've heard him once or twice. Oh, I do listen to you. In fact, I have more people that connect with me these days to say they listen to me. And I've also heard people say all sorts of things, that you hold Lagos down in the morning, and I feel, no, that cannot be true. So for me, I'm just doing my work, and I don't think, sometimes I just have a feeling that it's misjudged, So I'm not too sure if I'm that popular with the Lagos audience as people portray it to be.
How do people feel when they meet you for the first time and realize that you are visually impaired?
Yes. So the feeling is always mixed. For most of my listeners and the radio audience, some of them are taken aback to find out that this person they've been listening to is a visually impaired person. In fact, some have even argued that they are not sure that this is the same, except for the fact that the voice betrays me. So a lot of times, it's more or less like it doesn't take away the excitement, for some of them. They're like, wow, so this guy is visually impaired? Wow, and he's doing this much. So it doesn't take it away from them. But some others, they're just amazed. And then it brings in a whole lot of questions. How is he doing it? How did you come to it? How are you able to do those things that you do? How do you say those words? So it brings lots of questions. But I think most of them are really, really happy at what I'm doing. And that even connects them more to me when they listen to me on radio.
So you are going to answer two of the questions that your listeners ask. Number one, how do you do it?
Good. So how I do it, as a visually impaired person, I have been trained to read Braille, and Braille is the form through which visually impaired persons read, and that means we read with our hands. And so I've gone through that from my primary school days in Pacheli School for the Blind, even through my secondary school, and then in the University of Ibadan, where I got my first degree, all through to University of Lagos when I had my master's degree in public administration. So I do that via Braille, but also it means that for me as a visually impaired person, being challenged doesn't mean I cannot be at my best. So it means I have to go the extra mile in getting myself the needed materials, doing a lot of research, and trying to ensure that I'm up to the game. Equally, technology has come to play because now, with the use of technology, it makes accessibility a reality for visually impaired persons. So, by the grace of God and the support of the state government, I've been able to get some of the latest equipment that will help me stay ahead of the game, so to say. So when you see me sounding so prolific on radio, it's as a result of access. It's as a result of what technology has done. I have a tablet, which is more or less like, it's a Braille equipment, which can convert print to Braille instantly. And it gives me access, so I can easily get information that I want at my fingertips. And that makes things pretty good, so to say.
How did you get to know the streets of Lagos so well? When you speak on radio, you mention names of even the remotest part of Lagos, as if you are, like I joke with you, as if you're a long-serving member of the NURTW. So how, I mean...
Well, I think it's about learning on the job too. I wasn't trained to come to radio to do transport reportage. We were just broadcasters doing conventional broadcasting. But when we were transferred from Radio Lagos Eko FM to start Lagos Traffic Radio, it was a new ball game altogether. We just had to start somewhere. And for me, even though I had been in Lagos, I wasn't so much into the places, the streets, and all those areas. But with time, I had to learn, and then we had to do 1 or 2 simulations, go out there, drive from one location to the other, meet with the traffic managers, interact with them. That gave me the knowledge. So from time to time, at every point in time, if you mention any spot in Lagos State, I can tell you, okay, what's going to be the next thing? What symbolic thing can be linked to that particular area that can use as a point of description for the listener to know that this is what is happening here, this is what's happening there. So it's a learning process. I think when you do something over time, constantly, it becomes part of you.
Okay, now let me ask you something more personal. Do you find the word blind offensive?
Not at all. I don't. Because in the real sense, I am a visually impaired person. So the fact that I cannot see with my eyes would be the only way you can describe that is to say I'm blind or probably visually impaired if you're going to modify it in any way. But I don't find it offensive. It doesn't do anything to me because that's the reality. I cannot see with my eyes. But that's not to say I do not have the vision to see things much beyond what's in the physical realm.
You were not born blind. How did this happen?